Hello everybody and welcome to Adobe Live. My name is Flynn. I'm delighted to be back live streaming here, and I'm here with Michael Black. Hey Michael, how are you doing?
Hey Flynn, how you going? Yeah, good.
I'm really good, thank you. We've been chatting about doing this for quite some time. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm super
Mm.
excited to be doing this with you. We're going to be doing a two-part
Yeah.
illustration art mural process from start to
Mhm.
finish, meticulously planned by yourself, I must say. So we really do appreciate that. There's lots of great stuff coming. It's great to see some friendly names and avatars in chat. Elizabeth, lovely to hear about your mural. So we're just having a chat about some of the stuff that
Mm.
people have done in the past as we were getting ready. We've got Johanna in
Yeah,
the
so
chat looking after us. Sam Peterson, what
mhm.
is up, Sam? We've got Festus here. We've got RB here. It's great to see you all. If you are watching this on YouTube or anywhere else, the chat that we're using today is over on behance.net/live or be.net/live. It's been a while. Jump over there, have a chat, ask us questions as we're going along. We want to interact with you. Let us know where you're from. Have you ever done a mural before? I'll tell
Mm.
you about my failed attempts as we get to the Q&A a little bit later. But we're here with a pro now. We're here with Michael Black. I've
Hey.
been following you on Instagram for quite a long time, so it's like one of those really
Mm.
cool things that it's really nice that I get to do something with artists that I follow. So that's very
Yeah.
sweet. But maybe for those who haven't been following you on Instagram forever, maybe you
Mm.
could tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, I'm an artist from Sydney, and a lot of my work does entail sort of a mix of illustration and murals and brand collaborations and that sort of thing. And yeah, so it's a bit of a mix, but I probably do 40% murals and 60% sort of other things like private commissions and illustration and just a bit of a mix. So yeah, I've been doing it now for about 2 years. I come from a bit of a design background, and then I sort of transitioned into doing my own thing freelance.
Mm.
So I've been really sort of blessed to do this for the last 2 years. So yeah,
That's a big jump, right? Like doing it by
definitely.
yourself, doing artwork, like
Yeah,
doing commission work,
yeah,
big leap.
yeah. So I was always kind of doing it on the side when I was working, and then I kind of transitioned to 2 days a week, 3 days a week, working at a design firm.
Mm.
And yeah, just sort of like bigger opportunities started to arise, and yeah, just had to like kind of move into that as it was really like my passion and underneath like everything else I was doing as well.
Yeah.
But just sort of giving attention and time to it while I was still working in like a creative field and getting skills and that sort of thing. So yeah,
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, why don't we
yeah,
jump over to your desktop? Maybe we check out one or two
sure,
like of your final pieces on your website. We
yeah,
can
cool,
check that out.
yeah, too easy,
Very good.
yeah,
Hello from Michigan,
yeah,
USA. That's awesome, Elizabeth.
awesome,
Stone. I can't pronounce that. Mississippi River. I'll just go that.
yeah,
We're from Sydney. Michael, you're in
yeah,
Sydney as well, aren't you? You're definitely in
yeah.
Australia.
I'm from
You're Sydney.
Sydney,
Yep.
Australia.
Yep.
So hello to everyone out there.
Hello,
Yeah,
everyone. All right, we're jumping over to your desktop now, so we're going to check out
yeah,
some, maybe one or two of your
cool.
finished works.
Yeah. So you want it now?
Yeah, we're on you now. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So this is just my website. Yeah, as you can see, just kind of going through a few murals that I've kind of done. One here in Bateau Bay, which is sort of a coastal area in Sydney. It was just sort of a big interior wall there, and just a bit of the process that we're going to be going through today. How I kind of layer in different tones and that sort of thing.
Yeah, wow.
So that was a really fun
how do
one.
you get that high? How do you get up there?
Yeah, with a scissor lift. So it's normally some sort of contraption like that, scissor lift or boom lift, or I have used scaffolding, but it's much more tiring. So yeah,
Yeah, right.
this is another. Sorry.
I said, yeah, cool. Scissor
Yeah,
lift. Do you need
cool.
like a
Yeah.
practical question, but can you just like go get a scissor lift like in Australia, or do you need
Uh,
to like get a
you,
license or anything?
yeah, you do need a license
Yeah.
to go up to 12 meters. So my license permits me up to 12 meters, and then I need to get another license if I want to go higher than that. But I'm
Right.
pretty sure if someone is qualified, if someone's has the license, then you can jump in the scissor lift with them if you have a white
Right.
card or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, it's just a day course. So this is a mural I did in Redfern in Sydney at a creative space called Woodburn, and this one was on scaffolding. So yeah, there's me hanging off scaffolding.
Wow.
So a bit more tiring climbing up
Safe.
and down. Yeah, stay safe. Yeah, here is a speech pathology practice in Sydney. Really fun interior wall. Got to play around with the space architecturally a little bit. So I got to kind of bend the shapes around the walls and have a bit of fun that way. So a bit more like bright and playful, the shapes as well, because a lot of the clientele was younger, but still keeping that contemporary, modern, abstract sort of feel that I have in my work. So yeah, here's another one from a branding agency. Oh, wrong one. Katoomba Mural Festival. So it's just a mural I did at Katoomba, the Blue Mountains. So yeah, similar sort of vibe if you're getting, So just kind of some of the few of the murals I've done, and yeah.
That's awesome. And so where, I mean, there's so much to cover. Like where do you start? And I guess that's a segue into like what we've planned. But yeah, like maybe we should jump in. We could have a bit of an understanding of like where you begin.
Yeah. So would you begin if you were interested in mural art and that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people kind of get into mural art through sort of graffiti and that sort of pathway in the past, but I would say it's hard because there isn't a lot of space for people just to practice with spray cans or that sort of thing. But there are a few legal walls out there, and I'd really encourage anyone just to kind of have a go. There's heaps of, if you Google like free legal walls in your area, or even if you have a space that you know of, or a business owner would allow you to kind of paint a wall on larger scale, I'll just kind of have a crack. Not preferably not under too much pressure. And just kind of we'll go through some of the techniques today that will hopefully enable you to
That's all good.
Will enable you to paint whatever you want on any surface in a way. But really just kind of not being afraid to approach someone, just be like, even if it's just a back fence. Like I think my first wall I did was like a fence, like a backyard fence, and then so it's just kind of definitely just having a crack in that way.
Awesome. So why don't we get stuck into it and like where you start?
Cool. Yeah, sweet. So if you want to switch over to Photoshop, that'd be awesome. So I've got just my Photoshop open here, and what I want to do is get my body of work, and make it fit into the space. So today we're going to be sketching and designing an illustration concept for a mural that we'll show later in the second part on how to actually practically paint it. So the first part, we're just going to be going through just some of the illustration steps, and also how to guide, like use your sketch as a guide to paint it on a larger scale. So here's the wall. It's actually a client's backyard, and it's actually a bit of an awkward wall because it's like 10 meters by 4 meters, and I couldn't actually get a whole back photo because there was an exterior wall just behind me. So I've taken 2 photos, one from the right and one from the left, and I've kind of like put them side by side. So ideally what we're wanting to do today is get our illustration. So this is my illustration that we've done. And then I'm going to show you guys how to sort of mock that up, and we want to be putting it onto this wall surface. Just keeping in mind really big thing that I try and do is like go to the site myself, or if I can't go to the site, I try and get really good photos, because I can have the idea in my mind, or I can have the illustration concept, but really it's got to fit architecturally in the space, and it's got to flow, or it's got to like kind of fit there, stay there, and be part of the space and the environment. Because yeah, it's not just like an image; it's got to like kind of fit in. It's a big part of my work.
I think that's a really important point, because yeah, it could be
Yeah,
easy to think like I'm going to do a mural and it's going to be in this box and then I'll just kind of
yeah,
put it up.
that's
But
it.
what you're saying is
That's
like
it.
it's important to understand, I guess, how the flow, like how are people going to walk past this wall, how close they're going to
That's
be,
it.
like how
Mm,
far away they're
mm,
going to be, like what's the furthest
that's
away
right.
someone could be, like
Mm,
all those sorts of things are going to
mm,
impact like what you would go
100%.
back and then sketch and draw and everything like that. Yeah.
Mm,
Okay,
mm.
that's super,
Yeah,
super interesting.
100%. Yeah, so as I was talking before, a lot of my work sort of is abstract and contemporary in that way, but really the genesis of my work is actually just getting a pen and paper and sketching. So I've taken some photos of my sketchbooks and put them in and placed them in. So yeah, but a lot of my sketches and stuff, they're just like random ideas that I have, or symbols, or maybe a meaning of something interpreted in a different way. And really, what I'm trying to do with my work is use it as a language to speak a message, or to say something. And really, that's what I try and focus on when I'm looking at the space. I'm thinking about the environment. I'm thinking about the place, and then I'm also like, how does my work connect to this place, and how can I like best express it as well. So yeah, just a bunch of I'll just every day I kind of like crack open a new page, and I try and do at least one sketch every day. Usually it's like first thing in the morning when I've had a coffee and breakfast and stuff, and
Is that
before
where
I
you
actually get
find
into
like the
anywhere.
ideas flow the best for you? Like you got your
Yeah,
coffee, you're just waking
100%.
up. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so I've got to have a strong coffee, and then
Strong
like
coffee. Yeah. Why not?
yeah, just wake up for a bit, and then I find like if I don't do this like sort of creative practice, like at least try and sketch for like 15 to 20 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Or like just even, it doesn't have to be sketching. It can even just be like researching like different themes or different brands or different like sort of artists that I've been inspired by, and just kind of like just absorbing that sort of creative information, and then just kind of doing one thing. It's because I want to try and develop my practice as well as like grow a
Mm.
business as well. And I find like if I just jump straight into like doing emails or straight into like the work I have on in the day, I'll like forget about my creative practice in a way, and then I'll put it on the back burner. I'll be too tired. So this is
Mm.
just a good sort of practice for me. So yeah, so I just kind of grab any sketchbook. I have a bunch, and just even sometimes I'll just write out words. I'll just write out different words, and then different symbols will come, or different shapes and different compositions.
Yeah. And do you ever
So yeah,
like use reference at this point, or is it all just your ideas? Like, are you trying to stay
yeah,
away
100%.
from reference to not be, you know what I mean? Like, or
I
is
know
it
what you
just
mean.
just
Yeah,
sketching and drawing and coming up with things?
yeah. I do use reference, but I try not to like import the image and copy over the reference. I try and like just be like, I'm not worrying about if it's going to look good. I'm not worrying about like even if other people look at it and they think, what the heck is that? I'm just trying to get an idea, or something down fast. So yeah, I'll look at different like references through Pinterest, or just through like different photos that I've taken, of like even architecture, or just I'll be going for walks or something like that, take a photo of like a leaf or whatever, and then
Right. Yeah. Just
or like a
anything.
shadow or something like that. Just try and be like absorbent in that way,
Mm.
and then yeah, just trying to like relay that back in a symbol or a visual form,
Yeah.
as well, mixed in with some cool shapes and that sort of thing.
Mm.
So yeah, so yeah, I try and like use a bit of reference, but the best reference is actually the world around you, in a way, rather than like other people's work or things like that, because then it's like so authentic. Yeah, so we can get into a bit of the process from here. So what I want to do, I want to get the dimensions of the wall. So after I've got the dimensions of the wall, I'll create my illustration artboard, and I'll do that sort of like as the pixels are to the millimeters or meters of the wall. and that will kind of give me a reference frame. But for this wall, it was a little bit awkward because I did have half and half, because I could only take half the image with my camera because it was so angled. So I kind of cut it in half. So I have half the wall like this and half the wall like this. So I kind of just am having a half-sized board, and then I'll just kind of use two images as references. So normally I'll do a sketch like this, and what I'm trying to get is a really loose something like this. Again, similar to my sketchbook, I'm not really trying to make it look great. It's definitely for me, and it's supposed to be rough, and I'm supposed to play around with it. So I'll just create a new layer here on top of maybe one of these sketchbooks I'm using. So I'll just move that around, create a new layer on top, call it sketch 1. And what I'll do, I have a Wacom tablet that I normally use, or I do have an iPad as well that I use, AstroPad, which is kind of like an app that allows you to connect your iPad and use it as a screen monitor. So I usually just use the brush tool, which is just over here. And it's just a very simple sort of hard round pressure sized brush. And I'll just kind of go in and just start creating a composition. Even bring the opacity down on this so to give it that transparency. So just kind of use that as a reference in a way. So I can just enlarge that or bring that up. Just like create this sort of like composition that I'm happy with. Doesn't have to be like exactly this, could even be like a shape in there. Another thing I try to not do like rounds on rounds. I try and keep like a round shape like this if I'm using that to a sharper shape, just as like a compositionally sort of thing I use.
Right, like sharp shapes next to round shapes in terms of that, like juxtaposition.
Yeah, just to create that sort of like juxtaposition is a good word. Yeah.
I learnt that in design school.
So
I'm glad I could use it. My teachers will be so proud.
Yeah, that's it. You got to learn something. So that's just kind of like I'll go through that and just try and like even pull different sketchbooks up that I have, or like, oh, that line looks sick, I might just bring that in.
Yeah. Have you mentioned using the iPad or Wacom? Have you ever like been stuck without like a stylus and needed to like sketch or draw like using a trackpad or a mouse, or do you feel like you need to have like the pen or the stylus to free flow? Like, what's your thoughts on that part of it?
Yeah, so sometimes I won't even use this. I'll just try and like, especially for my illustration process, I try and like do a sketch. I'll pull up this one I did in black texture. Pull up a sketch like this, and if I can, I'll try and pull out the white and I'll try and pull the black out of it and make the white as white as possible. So it's just very much like black and white. I think you might have gone through this with other illustrators, or we can go through it another time, how I kind of do that. So that's just kind of like a process of cropping it, bringing it down, taking using the levels panel is Command L if you want a shortcut, or it's up in image, I think. And then just kind of like bringing these tabs. So creating that kind of like contrast stronger. And then using that as like, not even editing, like using the raw texture of the pen and whatever as like the coloring in a way.
Yeah.
And then I can select those black pixels and then just drop some paint in there. So it's definitely doable, and I would really recommend people to kind of get into that sort of illustration side of things before you maybe jump into the like using stylists and stuff like that. So
yeah, awesome, cool.
So like I said before, I'm just kind of like sketched in sort of my illustration that I'm happy with, and even from here I'll show you something that I've done earlier. So this is a sketch that I've done earlier, which is kind of this is going to be what this is going to be, in a way. And this is like not set in stone. Like I'm just really trying to be flexible and like allow the illustration to just kind of like how it sits in the space. So I might not like a shape there or there. So I'll just grab that, and if I want to kind of move something, I'll grab the selection tool. Maybe just select this shape, and then I want to transform it. So a little shortcut if you're on a Mac is Command T, and then just kind of like bring that bigger, and just sort of like do stuff like that. Maybe I'll just erase something that I don't like, just make this line sharper. Maybe I'll bring another layer on top of that and change the color, go to like a red or something like that. And then just be like, this needs to be tighter, or this shape could be like this, or like, oh, we've got, a round on a round, or I really feel like this isn't working, just redo it and do it just till I'm kind of happy with it in that way, or till it says what I want it to say. If that's a very abstract way of understanding something. So
for sure. And like, have you ever had to go back to the drawing board? Like, have you ever kind of scrapped a whole thing and gone, you know what, I don't know why, but this isn't working, I'm going to start again? Or is it, can you 100%. Always just spend a lot of time and eventually it gets there? Or you do sometimes scrap it?
Yeah, like I think sometimes I'll have to go back into my sketchbooks, and that's just like a matter of just kind of like starting again, maybe taking a break. Sometimes, you can just smash into something. I'm going harder and harder and harder and pushing into something. But I think there's a lot of research to show that if you just take a break and go have a coffee, or just take a bit of time out. Yeah, that's it. Or just do something else for a little bit, and then come back to it fresher and just with a new perspective, or just asking your peers. Ask my wife a lot, like, what do you think about this? Is this working compositionally? Or like, what do you think about this? And she'll normally give me just like an honest opinion, or like, oh, what did you did something over there. You did something over there that I think could work here. So I think having a sounding board can be good as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, like I said, just kind of being heaps loose with this. Sketch, maybe, want to bring that down, that shape there. These bones, maybe pull that a bit more expressively. Maybe here I want to just kind of use something a bit different shape, like maybe just some sort of expressive mark, or do something different there. So as you can see, it's just kind of like this process of getting the composition right and the shapes right, and then I can go into the sketch in that way. Then I can go into the blocking in the illustration stage, which I'll take you guys into next.
Cool. Awesome. And hey, I'll let everybody know, and you, in about 10 minutes, we've got our Q&A. So we're just going to take a couple of questions, take a quick break before we get into the second part. So I'm just letting you guys know, if you do have any questions about what's happening right now, or anything really to do with like being an artist or muralist, or anything that's kind of top of mind, throw your questions in the chat. And again, if you're just joining us now and weren't here at the beginning, the chat that we're using today is at behance.net/live. So if you're over on YouTube, jump over there to interact with us, say hello.
Yeah, wicked. So what I'm going to do next is, so I've got my sketch layer here, and I'm just going to bring another layer on top of that. So I don't want to be inking, I don't want to be blocking in on top of that. So I'll just create a new layer here, and I'll just call it just illustration.
You get a gold star for labeling your layers on Adobe Live, by the way.
Yeah, so I'm pretty notorious not to do that, but I think it's good to do. So again, I want to get like a good color palette here. So I'll normally like set in color palettes that I've used before, or like I'll bring natural references from the area around me. So it depends where it is. Like if it's a really darky, dingy place, I might like bring a color palette that kind of lifts that, or kind of complements the space. But I also want to keep that like brand consistency as well with the colors that I use. But I'm not too conscious of that. I'm just trying to more, just go with what my intuition is in that way. So yeah, so I've got my sketch. I'm pretty happy with this. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab the brush tool, make sure I have a color that I kind of, the color palette that I want. So I might even just like push out like a color palette here, and just use these like color palette sort of swatches in a way as a reference. I know you can sort of load it up differently in Photoshop, like over here. But sometimes it just helps just to have it next to the actual sketch as well. So I'm just grabbing like a nice orange or something like that.
Yeah, your color palette is definitely one of the things I was really wanted to ask you about, because you have such vibrant, like pastel, like exciting kind of colors. So hearing about your color process is super interesting.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that like just try and like tweak as well. Like some colors complement, some colors don't. And just kind of playing around with that process, similar to playing around with the sketch. Like, oh, this isn't right. This is good. This is working. So I don't know. Yeah. So this is kind of a coolish palette, and chuck a white in there as well. So yeah, when I want to go in, if I want to grab one of these, I'll grab the drop tool, and just shortcut for that is just I, and I'll just grab that, and then shortcut for brush, just press B, the brush tool. Whoops, I'm off the layer. And yeah, so I'm just going to grab that color again, click the brush tool over there, and then I'm just like, I'll just be knocking in the outlines of the sketch in that way, and keep that sketch like that. I might actually, what you can do, you can turn up the smoothing of the brush, so it kind of gives you like a steadier hand in a way. So if I want to erase this shape again, I'll just start it again.
So this is on a whole new layer. You've got your sketch like underneath, and you're sort of painting in with color at this point.
Yeah, and the sketch I've actually brought down, like, so this is the full opacity of the sketch, and I brought it down about to like 40 or 30. And then sort of putting a new layer on top of that, I'll just kind of go back. So yeah, I've just got the brush tool. I'm happy with the settings. I'll just kind of knock this shape in like that.
Yeah, cool. You can see the difference in the smoothing tool there. It's always really interesting to see like other artists and how much of the smoothing tool they use. Like some people use it like quite a lot. Other people like, oh, I want to use it really sparingly. So it's always super interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's just a personal preference sort of thing. Like, you know, for me, sometimes I actually like the hand-drawn line and like the wonky line.
Yeah.
Like it's a part of my practice in a way. So yeah, so there's really like sort of no right or wrong, but just what you want to achieve in a way. So
just a quick little thing, you just kind of cut back, and I just kind of wanted to point out in case people like following along. You did this sketch. No, it's cool. It's what I'm here for. So you're doing the sketch and going all around and kind of coming back to the beginning, but you sometimes get those little bits kind of hanging off the edge, and you just jump back to you do it naturally, so that's why. But just jump back to the mouse to the eraser tool, right, and just kind of cut back. Yeah, that's it. That's a good one, and that's something that I just did naturally. Exactly. You do it in your sleep, that's why.
So many hours on it. But so pretty much just going over it. So I've stuffed that, and I can either kind of backspace it, it's Command Z, or erase or whatever, and then just go for it again. But if it's sometimes like I think I can get it, I'll hit the erase tool, which I think is just E. And then I'll just kind of like cut that back like that.
Yeah.
And then just like smoothen up that line. So yeah. Perfect. So it's kind of like hitting it and then crossing it back over. Or if I want to do like, I'll show you another shape and do that process. Have the yellow, and then you know, if I just do this shape in like this, like that. And then I'll like stuff that, just going with that tool there and kind of hit that shape. But it is hard because sometimes it's better off just like undoing the stroke and then doing it again, because see how these lines are different, and it can create a bit of inconsistency if you're not a perfectionist. But I'm not either. So so after I've done that, I've kind of like done the outline. I'll use my bucket tool, and I'll just same color, and then I'll just like block it in like that. And then once I'm happy with that, just kind of keep going with that process. And until the whole thing is kind of how I want it, to like something like this. So I'll just kind of like go through the whole thing. If I need to put additional layers on top, excuse me, and I'll just kind of do that, adding different textures. As you can see over here, I've added some like textural sort of terrazzo coloring on top. Or as you can see, I've actually cut back here with this tool. So that would be like that normally, but to get that sharper edge, I've just kind of like cut it in a way. So yeah, just different things like that.
Yeah, cool. And do you, like, if you wanted to change the color of one of these, are you just like paint bucket, like just straight up changing it, and then are you trying to get all the color, and are you trying to get all the colors right in this composition now before you move on to whatever the next step is? Like, is this your you going, yeah, I'm locking in these colors?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so I'm just like trying to get it as accurate as possible before I get to the wall, and that's the same with the background color as well. So later on the mural, I know this wall is this white, but I'm going to paint it black, so it's going to have like a black undertone, just like this. And I'll show you guys a bit more of the practical how-tos in the next video. But yeah, so I'm trying to get the colors and the shapes as close as possible. Colors are a big one because I'm going to be labeling each shape as I go along when I actually sketch the mural on the wall, and this will just make things faster and easier. And it's so easy to do now in Photoshop, so I'll just like eyedrop this, and like maybe I want it to go lighter or something like that, and I'll just like kind of bucket that in. Command Z or whatever PC is, Alt Z or something like that. So I'll just kind of like play around with the composition a little bit, like before. If I want to like maybe move this or enlarge this, I'll just use the lasso tool, go to edit, free transform, or just Command T, and then I'll just kind of like enlarge this, or like bring it up, bring it down, or whatever I want to do with that, manipulate it how I want to do it. And this can just, I'm using abstract shapes here, but let's say you did hyper-realistic faces, or you did some sort of different work. The principles are still the same. You can, you want to like kind of edit your image, or have your reference image being maybe photo shoot people. You want to kind of have that laid in before we get to our next step. So,
yeah, awesome. Yeah. Speaking of next steps, hey, we're at Q&A.
Yeah, let's do it.
We've got heaps of questions, guys. These are some awesome questions. I don't think we're going to get through them all. That's something Michael and I were chatting about before. I'm like, like questions is really hard, but I feel like people are going to have a lot of questions today. So let's just see where we are. But you guys have some great questions. We'll get a couple in, and we'll see if we've got time at the end. Or we're here for two videos as well, so there's always next week. I'm going to start with Seth's question. He was in first. Hey, Mike, what's the most fun project you've ever worked on?
Ooh, good question.
This one. No, I'm joking.
This one, yeah, totally. No, like I've been privileged to do like a few brand collaborations recently.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've always kind of been interested in. So I'm doing a cup with a brand called Luxy Cup, which is coming out soon. And some clothing items and that sort of thing. So I'm really keen to just see my work kind of move into that space, like from canvases and murals into like the next sort of level in that way. So I'm excited for that. And,
those sort of collaborations are always great as well, because kind of one leads to another. It's like, totally. Can you do that for us? So that is awesome. That is awesome. And another question, actually, more practical to what we were talking about before. What's your color process going from RGB color concepts to real world paint? And we're probably jumping ahead a little bit. It's a great question. I'm sure we're probably
good question. Good question. So going from pixel to like real paint is a bit of a process. So what I actually use, I use a mix of spray paints and also use house paints. So I get my paints from Bunnings, and I'll go to Bunnings with my reference image. So I actually go to Bunnings with this image on my phone.
That's our hardware store for everybody that's not
Australia. So
it's that big giant hardware.
Home Depot.
Yeah, Home Depot. Exactly.
Or whatever it is in the States. And I'll go to Home Depot or whatever with this image in my hand, and I'll there's a bunch of color swatches on the walls. Usually there'll be like this big color swatch of paints, and I'll get my phone, I'll grab the color swatch, and I'll just compare it to the color. And then sometimes maybe I'll squint my eyes. It's a bit of a thing, and so I can match the colors perfectly. But again, like it is hard. Like I think some people mix the colors themselves, and that's how they kind of control that process. And they might have a printout, but even when you print it, it'll be different than like the actual RGB pixel based sort of thing anyway. So it's hard, but you can get it pretty close. So yeah, that's kind of what I do. And I'll just select a bunch of color swatches and then go to the desk and be like, hey, can you mix, 5 liters in this, 2 liters in this? And then I know different like kind of brands of spray paints have different sort of like finishes as well. So that's just a bit of an experience thing, but usually you can tell there's a color swatch on the outside of the can, and so
cool.
A little bit of a tip. So
excellent. We're going to get stuck more into detail into the mural side of things soon, and also next week. There was another question from Michael. Do you have a preference on working on light or dark backgrounds? I'm going to assume this is light or dark walls. I assume that's the way I take the question.
Not really, but I've kind of like just recently done the black background over the last like 6 months. I've always done like a lighter sort of, maybe it's like a tan or a white background, and that's kind of like what I started with, but I've recently just sort of like merged into other things. But to be honest, no, I don't have a preference.
Don't have a preference. Cool. And Steve asks, ever have no, there's no wrong answers. Ever have a material on the mural give you problems, like absorbing too much of the paint or something like that?
Definitely. Yeah. So when I quote a mural, or when like someone comes to me and they're like, oh yeah, we want to do a mural, one of the considerations in the whole process is the actual wall texture. And what the wall I'm doing the wall today, this wall it's a good wall. It's a rendered brick wall, so it's not actually brick, it's like a rendered cement on top. And this just makes it easy, like it doesn't actually absorb the paint. But I have painted walls in the past that they have a brick surface, so if it's a bare brick wall, you'll probably need 3 or 4 coats of like priming paint before you can start painting what you want to paint.
Right.
Because the wall will actually just suck in that sort of exterior paint in a way, and you'll have to kind of like get into the cracks of the brick. So I would like, that's where spray paint is an advantage in that sort of space, because you don't have to get in there with your brush and like hit it out. So yeah, definitely I've done a wall that it was like a school, and Nepean, which is like in the mountains area in Sydney, and that took me probably a week longer than I thought it would, just because I had to just prime the wall again and again, because it was like I put one layer on, then I put another layer on, and you could still see sort of like the transparency in the paint as well.
Right.
So, yeah.
Cool. One more lowball easy question. How do you make your strong coffee? Full machine, pod machine, AeroPress, or God forbid, instant? No coffee shaming. All right. Sometimes you need instant.
That's it. That's it. You need to hit. Yeah, no, just French press actually. Yeah.
French press. There we go.
So yeah, a bit old school. But yeah, I used to kind of use the pods. So yeah, just kind of transitioned to the French press about a year ago. So yeah,
very good.
Yeah,
awesome. Well, we'll jump into the second part. So we'll jump back over to your desktop.
Let's do it.
Thanks for the questions, guys. Good questions. There's a few more there that I've missed, but hey, we do need to move on. Keep the questions coming, and if we have the opportunity, we will ask. We're here for another sort of 20 minutes, so see how we go.
Easy. Cool.
Always good to have more questions.
Yeah. So once I've kind of done my illustration sketch and my illustration concept, I'm happy with this as a whole concept. What I want to do is superimpose it. So I want to bring it onto the wall. So this normally comes, comes from taking good images of the wall. These aren't good images of the wall, but it's just what I could do because like I said before, there is a wall behind us, and I couldn't get like a full-on back shot. So what you ideally want to do is just get a straight-on shot of the whole wall, so you have it all in one image. But just for this sake, we're just going to break it up. So yeah, I've got the two sides of the wall here. I've got the left-hand side and I've got the right-hand side. And what I've actually done in the next video, we're going to go through some of the painting processes and tips in that way. But I've actually painted the wall black. So this is the wall painted black, and I'll put a bunch of random marks on the wall, which I'll explain later. And bits of tape, they're not just there but so what I want to do, I'll get an image, I'll paint the wall, I'll buff the wall, or someone else will buff the wall for you. And I'll put these random little marks of sticky tape around the wall. And I'll explain this as we go. But so I want to get my illustration design, and I don't want to edit this one because I don't want to transform it and for it to stuff it up. So I'm going to go down here and duplicate it. And this is just the copy. So I want to hide this layer. So this is like my master layer. I don't want to do anything to it. I always want to duplicate it. So I want to bring that and I want to put it above my wall. So you want to grab it, use this tool, and sorry, wrong layer. And I just want to kind of like move it and transform it onto the wall. So I want to get it in perspective, and I want to do half here and then half on the other image. So what I'm doing, I'm getting it like I did before with the other shapes. I go edit, free transform. And this kind of allows me to edit the shape in the way I want to edit it. But I don't want to cramp it in like this. So Command Z. I want to actually change the perspective of it. And the way I do that is I hold Command on the Mac, and I don't know what it is in PC. Could be like Alt or something like that. And then I want to hold Shift. So this kind of allows me to actually move the perspective plane of the illustration design. So I want to do this, and like I said before, this doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm actually just kind of editing as I go. So I want to align, as you can see, that top line with the perspective line of the wall, and this bottom line with the perspective of the wall as best as possible. So I can get it like kind of in the shape I want it to. So this isn't in the right perspective, but yeah, so as you can see, the design here is actually coming off the wall a little bit. And that's fine. So I've got that, and what I might do even now, I might say, oh, this is coming off the wall, this isn't fitting in right, I've done this wrong. All good, don't worry. I'll just grab that and I've grabbed a bit of the wrong thing. So yeah, using the lasso selection tool, I'll grab that, transform it, move it up in perspective. I might change the size of it or something like that. Maybe it needs to come up a little bit more. Deselect, and then just kind of like bring these up. So I'm just using the trackpad here, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. So yeah, I can see maybe this one needs to be changed a little bit, bring it on a bit more of an angle. The flow isn't really working that sort of way, shapes aren't fitting in. So from here, I'm pretty sweet with this. This is like good. And I'll just kind of do the same to the other side. So, and then I'll show you guys what I'm going to do. So I don't want to duplicate this image. I'll go back to my master illustration, and I'll turn that on, and I'll just duplicate that again. So this is copy 2, and I'll just hide the original one, and then I'll just go above the right-hand side one. So, yeah.
So if in this case you had to take the 2 photos, right? But if you're doing like a straight up wall or something that you can get the whole thing in one shot, you only need to do this once, right?
100%.
Yep.
That's what you want to do. That's the ideal of it. So that's what you definitely want to do. You just want to get the one shot, the one image, and just kind of work from that. So this is the one I've prepared earlier. So I'll just delete this one that I was just doing. So yeah, just copy that same process if you need to. So I'm happy with this. I can obviously just edit this, cut that off, and then send that to the client or whatever beforehand. So you can actually do this to this white wall and render it like that and get an idea for it before you actually paint it or buff it. But this is going to help us guide, use it as a guide to actually put the sketch in. So this is the way I want to get my illustration design and then actually practically sketch it onto the wall in perspective and in proportion. So I've got my mocked up wall. It's all in perspective. It looks great. I want to get my top layer here and I want to pull the opacity down to about like 50 or 40%. And this allows me to see the color, but it also allows the color and shape, but also allows me to see these random tape bits that are put behind the shapes or around the shapes. And this kind of gives me a guide to how to sketch in the actual design. So I can see here that this 3-pronged shape kind of fits in the bracket of these 3 tape marks. So, and I can see, this mark here is halfway down the wall, so I can start sketching this bone thing just under that. And likewise with the flame, I can see that the top tier of the flame is about halfway between here and here. So this kind of taping / superimposing, mocking up process allows me to just kind of paint anything anywhere in a way. And let's say like this isn't working for me, I want to put something in, I can actually just go in live and just do this live like there, and I'll just be like, I'll put another shape in there, or I'll just like do a circle there or something like that. So I don't know, Flynn, if you want to just jump over to the video of the actual process of this and we can kind of see a practical example.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Is this the right one? You might need to jump over and look.
Yep, this is it.
Cool.
Yeah, so as you can see here, we'll go through more of like the practical tips of how to actually paint the wall in the next video. But I'm just going like just putting random tabs of
moving fast
tape. Yeah, super fast. And some people actually just do random marks on the wall. So sometimes you'll see people just do random like squiggles, shapes, lines, words, whatever. Some people call this method chicken scratching. Other people call it squiggle grid, superimposing. On the phone there, don't know why. But it's just a method of getting an underlay, of getting a reference, and then putting your illustration on top of that. So you can see and compare, okay, so that line equals that. So as you can see here, pause.
Sorry.
I've got my illustration. Sorry, yeah, you can go back a little bit. So this is the image from Photoshop. So this is what I'm looking at. I've actually airdropped, or I've sent this to myself via email or whatever, live on the day. So I have this in my hand and I'm looking at the wall and I can see that this mark here, or this mark here, this mark here, sorry, I'm using my hand, should be using the mouse. This mark here, this mark here, this mark here, actually equals the proportion of that shape, or like that mark is like part of that. So this kind of gives me a rough guide. It's not meant to be like perfectionistic, or I don't know if that's a word, but it's not meant to be like perfect. It's more meant to be just a guide and a reference for the proportions for me to sketch. So you can keep going with the video and we'll watch a bit of it.
Yeah, cool. It's such an awesome technique. Like, it seems so simple. Like, is there a method to the madness of where you're putting everything? Like, I would guess, without seeing you doing this, if I had to guess, I would assume that people would do like almost a grid, right?
You can pause it there.
I need to keep my hand on the dial. Is that a good spot?
You can go back a little bit. I'll show you something if you just scroll back a tiny little bit. Yeah, so like you were saying before, some people do grids, and the thing with grids are they're really good, but once you kind of, it's very hard to focus sometimes when you're on a large scale wall and you've got all these things happening around you. You know, you might have your paints there, you might have this there, you might have like, you might be up on a scaffold, you might be some guy being like, like, it's a lot to, like, you actually like got a lot going on, and then you're also trying to creatively put this thing in a time frame. So I kind of find this method works for me. Again, like, whatever works for you. If you don't want to do this, go for it. But this is just one way of doing it. So as you can see, you see the 3-prong that I have here, 1, 2, 3. If we go back to my Photoshop, render, I can see the bottom of that is the same as on my phone, like the bottom of the actual shape. And like we said before, that the top of this flame is like the top, like is that mark. So I'm kind of looking at the wall, I'm looking at this mark, looking at this mark. Oh, okay, so this squiggle fits in between those two marks. And for me, like this gives me a reference to be like free with my gesture, but not like be like, oh, I'm actually like stuffing this up, or when I get to the end of it, it's like, oh crap, this looks like totally whack or whatever. And this process can be the same if you do, like I know a lot of people use this process to do like hyper realistic sort of stuff, like really amazing portraits. You could be like, well, this mark here equals the nose, or this mark here equals the distance between the eyebrow and the eye. And it's just kind of a method of gridding, of getting your proportions right.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, can continue on if you want. And what I also do is I'll label my shapes, the colors, or like a little reference color as we go. So like orange, blue, light blue. So I don't have to come back and look at my phone. I can just grab the paints, go into it, and we can go from there.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah.
And so when you're saying before, like you've got it in your hand, like you've got the photo reference in your hand, and that's useful because you need to be moving around the whole time. Like if you had it back like on a laptop screen or an iPad or something, like kind of over there, it's just a little bit cumbersome. So you're just trying to be as like pretty agile, like with the whole thing, I guess.
Yeah. And to be honest, it's probably not even the best to do it. Like it is good to do on my phone because I can like do whatever, listen to music, this and that. But and having it as like a small little thing that I can put away. Bubba. But some people get, little friend. And what I can do is use that as like a reference. So yeah, we can stop it here and go back a little bit if you want. So that's what it kind of looks like before I sort of go into it. Yeah, we can go forward. Actually, that was a good shot. Like something like that. So as you can see here, I've labeled it dark green, gold, dark gray, gold, whatever. And yeah, just sort of like going from there. And I actually use red chalk to correct if I've stuffed up a little bit. So I'll kind of go there, go back, and use the red chalk to just sort of correct it. But as you can see, like it's not perfect, but I just want it to like kind of get the composition right, get the feel and look of it right, and then I can clean up the lines later. So yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Sorry, what was the question you asked before? I think I didn't answer it.
Did you? I can't remember what my question was. Sorry.
Yeah, I feel like I just didn't answer that properly.
That's cool. Yeah,
so you can stop it here because we'll go through the rest of the process later on. So yeah, so this is kind of how it looks just before. Yeah, so I've got the reference on. That's what we were talking about. They've got the reference on my phone, but some people actually get a laminate piece of paper, and they print that out and they have it as like a laminate reference. So paint can spill on it and whatever, it can get dirty. But I just find doing it on my phone is just kind of the easiest way.
Yeah. Cool.
So,
well, I think because we're going to go into more detail into the painting side of things next time. We are pretty close. I think we might have time for one more question.
Sweet.
Where are we? Johanna asked a question. I'm going to make this big so we can see you because we've got 2 minutes left. So Johanna's asking, do you usually set your tools down like that on the bottom right? Love how organized it is. I don't know if anyone else knows. I totally noticed too, so it's funny that Johanna did. But all like laid out like
definitely not. Yeah,
definitely not.
Definitely not. That was just for a shot we did. Yeah. So I took a photo of it all, and I'll go through it just because I wanted to get everything laid out.
Yeah.
To explain what I use, the like different sort of tools and brushes and stuff like that I use. So I'll go through a bit of that in the next episode. But
awesome.
I'm not really like that, but it does help. Like the more organized you are, the more prepared you are, like the more professional you'll be, but then also the better outcome you'll get. Like when you're on the day, like stuff goes wrong, like you might get some guy coming in and being like, look, what are you doing here? Scissor lift's not supposed to be here. Scissor lift's not working.
Right.
Like spill paint, like all this like stuff can go on, or like, so I think having that extra preparation, being diligent, and it can help. But also like if you're just starting out, like I'd really encourage you just to kind of do a sketch or something like this, mock it up in Photoshop, do an illustration, and just sort of have a go as well. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I definitely got the sense like there's a lot of planning. Like you might not look like from the
Mm.
outside in because it's
Mm.
abstract. It's very creative, right? It's
Totally.
you know,
Mm.
but yeah, having things planned out, and I think that's a really great
Mm.
idea because of course there's going to be so many other things that can go wrong. So anything you can plan,
Yeah,
you want to plan out as best
that's
as you
it.
can, which I think
That's
yeah,
it.
it's been really clear. But
Yeah.
that's been awesome. Thank you so much
Mm.
for today. So this is part one
Yeah.
of our two-part series on murals. Um, whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world, for us it's Friday morning. It might be Thursday evening if you're in the US and all around the world. This exact same time next week, we'll be back with part two with Michael Black.
Mm. Thanks so
Thank
much
you.
for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for your
Yeah,
time.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you, chat. Great to hang out with you again, and we'll see you next week. See you, Michael.
Thanks, guys.